For form number 4, you were asked to report on what the difference was between a sojourner and a migrant. And a lot of you did a pretty good job of just making that distinction, that a sojourner is someone who visits or goes to another place or another country with the full expectation of one day returning home. And whereas a migrant, they normally go to that country and their expectation is to stay and make that country a permanent residence. And so the biggest difference is the intentionality, what is expected, what they're trying to accomplish. And it really does change how that person views the country. It changes the investment and the level of attachment that that person has to the country. For example, if you are a sojourner and you know you're just going to a place, I think about missionary work, especially short-term missions, or maybe if you are a student who's studying abroad, you will invest, you'll get everything you can get out of that country, you'll give back, but in the back of your mind you always know that this is just a temporary situation that you're only passing through. And whenever you have that passing through mentality, it will impact how you invest. It will impact your level of attachment. It will impact your level of comfort when you know that you're only passing through. I'm often reminded of in Jeremiah when the people of Israel were in Babylonian captivity and they were longing to go back home, and they got word to the prophet Jeremiah that God wanted them to stay where they were at for a little while longer. And he told them to build houses, to marry, to have children, to really invest. And he says, seek first the peace and the prosperity of the city which I've taken you into exile, and that's where you're going to find your own peace and prosperity. And what this means is, for those who had that only passing through mentality, they weren't really investing. They were like, well, why bother to invest when we're leaving soon? So God said, no, you're not leaving soon. And if you want to prosper, if you want to have peace, if you want to have all the things that you want to have, you're going to have to seek that for the place that I've now taken you to, because now you are one of them. And so imagine if you were on a ship and you were the captain of that ship, and the ship was starting to take on water, and you knew you had these lifeboats. So in the back of your mind, you're going to try to save the ship. You're going to bail water, but in the back of your mind, you know that you have an escape route. But imagine if you find out that there are no more lifeboats. All sitting out, you're going to bail the water and try to save the ship on a whole nother level, because now you are a permanent fixture. Now if the ship goes down, that means you go down with the ship. And so I think that's a great distinction that we make between a sojourner and a migrant, that oftentimes sojourners aren't going to have that same level of attachment, that same level of investment, because they know that they're going to get whatever they're getting, whether it's an education, whether it's to do some missionary work, and then they know they're going to return home. But the mentality does change when you're not returning home, because this is your new home. And so I think most of you made that particular distinction. You talked about the different mentalities. You talked about the difference between a voluntary and a forced migrant workers. And that's also a different mentality, because if you're there by choice, you want to be at that place. Say, for example, if someone came to America because they thought America was the best place ever, and they had to want to achieve the American dream, they're going to come with a certain mentality. But say if someone came to America because they were forced to leave their country, so they were fleeing, or maybe they came by force. Think about slavery. In those particular regards, all of a sudden those individuals may not have the same mentality, may not have the same level of attachment and affinity towards the country. So the reason for being here will impact how those individuals carry themselves while they're here. So that would be it for form number 4.